No intro today. Even more bad news regarding random dice has unfortunately reached the surface. And I'm gonna be completely honest when I say that it is not looking good at all. And that it seems to be even a lot worse than I initially thought. This is pretty much a follow-up to the last video that I uploaded most recently, so if you haven't watched that already, you might as well watch it before or after watching this one. But before anybody asks themselves when this became a thing and what actually caused it, these things became news around the same time as I actually started to work and make the video that I last released. The video had already been planned for several months prior to actually making it, but coincidentally things started to go downhill even more around the exact same time without me actually having anything to do with it. I pretty much just wasn't even aware of those things happening at that time. But so what event in the video could be so dramatic and horrible that I felt that I had to make yet another video on this entire thing? Simply, to sum it up, the developers no longer seem to care about random dice defense whatsoever, from my understanding at least. Unless this is a very temporary and current thing that they've decided to do. In the last video, I decided to start lightly and work my way up. This time we're gonna get right into the worst and work our way down. And the majority of the things I will mention in this video is more or less related to the things that I already spoke about in my previous video, but now drastically worse. No more top 100 emblems, no new patch or patches for dices, no new update video or videos, no new in-game emotes, and not a single explanation as to why. How does that sound? These are a few of the things that we're going to be talking about today, and not a single thing I just mentioned is made up. Let's get into it. So to start off, the thing I personally got the most upset and pissed off by on this entire subject is the fact that starting now, there isn't going to be any more top 100 emblems added for the upcoming seasons. Now, you might ask, how do you know that? Basically, the official Random Dice YouTube channel remains silent during the same day of the month that they usually upload their update previews, and this was the first time that they've done this in years. As far as I know, there hasn't been a single time that they straight up decided to not make a video on their upcoming additions or balances to the game, but this month there was nothing. Why? Well, that's what we're going to get into now. There was no new update preview at all this month, but there was still a new season that got added, the Storm Season, which for that matter has already existed before. Storm Season was literally added years ago, so the season name also isn't unique. What the developers decided to do instead of uploading an update preview like usually, is that they instead decided to hide it and simply make a small announcement in the game under the Notice tab on the top right corner when you log in. Under the update version 9.4.1, there seems to be two things added and nothing else. First off, as you could see, starting from the Storm Season, emblem rewards given as ranking rewards will be changed as follows. Season ranking 1 to 3rd, Legendary Dice Ore. Season ranking 4th to 100th, Legendary Dice Ore Pieces. Reading this for the first time, I literally could not even believe that was true. The first time I read it, I had to read it again and again and again. There is not gonna be any more top 100 emblems added to the game, and instead you will be rewarded by Dice Ore if you manage to make it all the way up to the top of the leaderboard, which is absolutely bizarre, considering how hard it is to make it all the way to the very top of the leaderboard, considering how much time, effort and energy that it takes to make it all the way up there at the end of every new season. This decision is probably the craziest thing that I've heard any game company make in a really long time. If you grind for hours on end every single day for an entire month to reach the top 3 placement on the leaderboard, you should be rewarded. The message isn't clear with how many dice ores the top ranking rewards are going to consist of, but as it says ore in singular form and the top 100 spot rewards remain of dice or pieces, I honestly can't imagine that you would get more than just one. To put this in perspective, if you play 1 or 2 really long co-op games, you might make enough cards to open plenty of card chests, which most likely will consist of over 100,000 gold, and if you're lucky enough, just 1 month, you could literally get a dice ore in the shop for that cheap. Or literally just grind to Master 1 and leave it there. Champion 1 rewards you with 2 dice ores on its own, but grinding past that pushing all the way to top 3 only earns you 1, in what universe is that a fair adjustment to make? The only reward that you're gonna get for that much work is simply something that you can get with decent ease, and in a much shorter amount of time. Taking another step in the same direction, right below the season reward adjustments, the developers state that starting from the storm season, emblem and emote rewards from the season pass will be replaced with legendary dice and legendary dice or pieces. Once again, clarifying that they have no intentions to design or come up with any more creative designs for emblems or emotes. In both the paid season pass as well as the season trophy rewards, literally just shows us that they don't even want to create new things for the game anymore. As I mentioned in the previous video, we haven't seen a new, unique and creative event for random dice in quite some time now, but going as far as removing the small things that we enjoy and have fun with is actually just the lowest of low. It shows nothing but disinterest and a lack of respect for the game and its community as a whole. And I honestly was not expecting to see this. Now, moving on from cosmetics to something that I actually believe bothers the majority of the community as well, and not just the people who decide to grind for top 100 placements or earn general rewards. With this entire update not containing a single patch, rework, or dice in any way, shape or form, it does not look good for the future. Despite several of the current dices being very overpowered, the vast majority of the dices are currently laying unused and overshadowed by the strongest ones. While the game clearly needs several adjustments and balances in order to get the meta to move once more and for new decks to be built, the developers have decided to not change a single thing up, which with high potential could mean that they don't even mean to make any further changes in the upcoming season either. If they literally could not be bothered to come up with a single adjustment to make for even the weakest or strongest of dices, I am honestly not sure what they would do next instead. The fact that their channel remains inactive for this whole month is also worrying to say the least. As I mentioned in the previous video, with the majority of their video being almost identical in style, with minor differences in animations and changes for each upcoming one, it shouldn't be too much effort putting out a video explaining these two simple things that they added and changed, right? If you really think about it, it does make sense. They left no explanation in the update notice whatsoever as to why they decided to make these drastic and random changes, and instead of actually giving us anything new, they decided to leave us empty-handed. The reason as for not making a video on this update is that there simply just wouldn't be anything to say. There is no good way to explain that they simply just decided to not make anything for this season at all. Explaining this would sound just as outrageous as it truly is doing it, and there is no reasonable way that they can defend what they're doing. So instead, they decided to not make a video on it at all, and instead hide it in the update notice so that the majority of the game's players would not know, or rather not think too much of it at all. I honestly don't even know how to feel about this entire situation. In my previous video, I wanted to push the video in a direction where I could point out things that I personally thought were negatively affecting the game, as well as to tell the story from my own point of view. But as they don't even seem to care anymore, I don't even know what to say, to be honest. If they don't want to develop the game any further, there is only one way and one direction that the game can start heading from now on. But after seeing these rough changes, I honestly can't say with confidence that I'm too positive that they will change for the better.